My neighbors are always complaining that my house always smells like a restaurant because I'm always cooking something, or I'm, smoking bacon in my backyard, or, and all these things. I'm Asher Cooney, and we're at the cheese shop at The Mix in Costa Mesa. I discovered cheese working on the cheese station, really, preparing cheese plates for customers, getting to taste all these, exotic imported cheeses. I kind of fell in love with cheese there. It really became like kind of an eye-opening experience for me. How something so simple could be so complex at the same time. So I decided after, about 3 years working as a cook to kind of specialize, to sort of dedicate myself to something specific, but also something that I knew I could spend my whole life learning about. I'm thinking, I'm glad that they're not legally allowed to call it cheese. I'm definitely happy about that. But hey, you know what? I love the really fine, expensive, gourmet, handmade, artisanal cheeses from around the world. But I didn't grow up eating that. I grew up, I come from an immigrant family. We came to America when I was a little kid with not a whole lot. So I grew up eating, Velveeta and Kraft mac and cheese in a box. So to me, it's important that I don't lose that, sense of where I came from and what I grew up eating. And it is kind of a part of my upbringing and my culture, really. It's weird as it is to say, but Kraft American Singles and the fake cheese slices, I love them, and I still eat them to this day, and I'm not ashamed to say it. Do a little bit at home. I'm trying to kind of expand it, but I never buy bacon. I always make it myself. I've done duck prosciuttos. I make terrines every once in a while. I made this this classic terrine called the Dodin de Canard with one of my great friends who, we kind of learned things together. And neither of us had ever done this before. We saw it and we were like, we have to do this. You take a whole duck and debone the whole thing, so you get the whole, the carcass of the duck, the bones out in one piece. And then you make a pate with pork liver and the duck meat, and you stuff that back inside the deboned duck and roll it up and sew it back up and roast it like that, and then slice it so you get a cross section of the whole animal. I love to do that kind of stuff just at home for fun, because I love it. Think of it people have been practicing the art of charcuterie literally for thousands of years. So if you really, think about it, you can do it with anything, with the most basic, simple tools in the world. It's really, really simple stuff. It's really just the technique that you have to kind of master, and that's what takes your entire life. But if you just pick up a book and read about it, it's really pretty simple. All you need is a lot of salt and patience, and the willingness to get it wrong a few times or a lot of times before you finally get it right. But it's kind of that learning process that really makes it exciting. A lot of these old techniques they're kind of born out of necessity. People didn't do them because they thought it would be a fun thing to do on the weekend. They did it because they had a whole animal, and they couldn't eat the whole thing all right away before it went bad. They didn't have refrigeration. So as a way of preserving the meat, either through the winter or through whatever season they needed to keep all this meat from going bad, they discovered that you could cure it, you could salt it and dry it or smoke it. There's all these different ways that you can cure meat in order to preserve it and not waste any of the animal, because it's very important, especially to me, that you're taking a whole living animal and turning it into something. You have to use every part of it, and you don't want it to go to waste. So that's what they did, thousands of years ago. They figured out how they could hunt an animal. People have proven that they've been curing meats for longer than they've been domesticating animals. Even back when humans were hunters and gatherers, they were, killing animals, hunting them, and preserving their meat.